Hi. Maybe two of the most interesting and fascinating animals underwater are sea anemone and anemone fish. Since I've been diving 30 some years ago, this has always been my favorite object for pictures, videos, and recently I felt maybe I should understand more about these animals. So I did some searching and found something very interesting about these two. So here I will present you a little bit about the sea anemone and anemone fish. To start the story, since sea anemone is a kind of corals, so I will briefly mention coral first. I thought there were only two types of corals, that is hard coral and the soft coral, but it looks like there are two different types in hard coral, and this is reef forming hard corals called juxanthellate. Very difficult to pronounce. And also these, I thought these were soft corals because of the tentacles, but seems like these belong to a genus of hard coral, and it's called juxanthellate. These are all soft corals. Shows us a lot of them, and this is sea pen, not fan. This is sea fan, and blue coral as well. So let's see what sea anemone is. They are named after a flower, anemone flowers. They certainly look pretty much alike, flower and sea anemone. This is a kind of a group of anemone flowers. These are not underwater anemones. And also some anemone fish look like this. And interesting enough, they have a very interesting mouth and tentacles, like all other sea anemones does. Other photos are pretty much the same. It's out of focus. This is better. This is a very beautiful drawing of Mr. Giacomo Merculiano back in 1893. This is a beautiful drawing. Here's another one. And also he was a very famous architect, like this. Okay. Using his painting and showing some schematic drawing, shows the parts of the sea anemone. They have tentacles, mouth, have a lot of muscles that make them move very freely to any direction. They certainly have gonads and everything. So at the bottom they have disc, and they are attached to the bottom with the disc. So sea anemones, many different kinds. They have some scientific, they belong to some scientific kingdom and genus as well. Sea anemone are related to corals, surely. Jellyfish, surprisingly. Jellyfish have a medusa stage in their life, not like sea anemone, but they are all relatives. Have tube-dwelling anemone. You also see this quite often. And these tubes-dwelling anemones, they stick their body into some soft sediments and they live there. And this is also a hydra. It's all relative of sea anemones. Tentacles of sea anemone, they have one single polyp and with mouth, and then has a lot of tentacles growing out. They have some toxin at the end of the tentacles. They call it, I think, they had some strange name that I cannot really read. But anyway, it's because of toxin they have, they protect their symbiotic animals, also protect themselves as well. They are armed with cnidocytes, stinging cells. Cnidocytes. I don't know why they make English so difficult. Can't you just make it simple, like stinging cell, which is better. They can retract inside, the tentacles, and then they come out, they expand out to catch passing prey. So here is a video from YouTube. And these kind of sway around, and then they catch a passing prey. Interesting picture, isn't it? I think these are very pretty, day and night. Some symbiosis with sea anemones. Algae. There's some algae helping them to make up for their inability to photosynthesize. And anemone fishes for sure. There are some cardinal fishes living in it. Crabs, snails, and shrimps. This is a picture I took a long time ago at Bali Island, Indonesia. This anemone fish was actually having one of the tentacles in the mouth. And surprisingly, my buddy was passing by, kicked the anemone, and the end of the tentacles were broken. And as soon as it was broken and was floating, this anemone will just eat it. It was very surprising for me. Symbiosis and eating. This is the crab, shrimp, some snails, and there's quite a good number of animals in symbiotic relationship with anemone. The life cycle of anemone, they don't have a medusa stage like jellyfish does. So they have no free swimming stage in their life. Polyp will produce egg and sperms together. So the fertilized egg will develop into a planula larva, and this develop directly into another polyp, and the polyp will find a place to stick to. So anemones do both sexual and asexual reproduction. The self-movement. Anemone has a lot of animals all around the polyp. So they can actually lengthen, contract, they bend, twist, and they really moves. So whenever we see them underwater, they are constantly moving, but we think probably it's because of the current. No, they have a very active movement of their own. Why is this not moving? Okay. This shows a movement. No, it's a locomotion of the anemone. It actually moves very, very slowly. To see the moving itself, we need to take like 1 photo per minute so that we can see their movement little by little. Here, actually, we see very small distance of moving. And then some anemone, they really swims, so we'll see that too. What happens when a swimming anemone comes into contact with a leather starfish? And they really swim away. Very surprising video, isn't it? So what's anemone's relationship with human? It's a big attraction for aquarium. So there's marked reduction in population outside the protected area. National marine parks, they protect these, but certainly there's a huge reduction in other sites. Some pollution into the ocean, shallow area anemones are at risk. Snake lock anemone, in some parts of Europe they eat it, and they say it is pretty good. This is a snaplock anemone. You see this quite often in the water. They are too pretty to eat. And this was the story of anemone, and very soon I will go for anemone fish, and I will show you some of the video that I took with anemone. And thank you very much for your attention.